There's a light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Getting more out of life, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy and couldn't be happier to be alongside Joe Stanley after what was a brilliant time working on the Olympics. Joe?
Oh, it's so great to have you back, Darcy. The Games do seem a long time ago now, but the Paralympics kept the vibe going for a little bit longer. We just loved it. What was your Olympics highlight?
I loved the whole thing, Joe. I thought our Australian athletes were just brilliant, the way they handled themselves. The ones that won medals and the ones that didn't were just sensational, and it felt like it came at a good time. I loved the new sports that came along. I thought the BMX freestyle was brilliant, the sport climbing was brilliant, and the skateboarding, which I know nothing about, still know nothing about, but to have 12-year-old girls winning silver medals, and I've seen in my own park since then gangs of young girls holding their skateboards, so there's going to be a whole new generation. And with Australia now having the Olympics in Brisbane in 2032, I think that's just so exciting.
Yeah, it was exactly what we needed at exactly the right time. Both events got lots of us through the long pandemic tunnel. And what it also did was rekindle that desire for travel. I've got to say, I can't wait to go anywhere sometime soon. Never know when that will be, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Just anywhere. Just
Yeah.
get Joe out of here at some stage. Now, life seems to be all about COVID at the moment, and while we're trying not to cover topics that are all COVID related, it is still clearly a big part of our life at the moment. So here's one that's had quite an impact though, Joe. A lot of people have been putting off going to the doctor, and there has been some dire consequences as a result.
New information from the Heart Foundation shows almost 500,000 women are at increased risk of heart attack and stroke by putting off medical checkups during the pandemic. Contrary to what many people think, heart disease is not an old man's illness.
Yeah, going to the doctor or the dentist or any medical appointment for that matter are allowed during lockdown.
Yeah, and so is leaving home in order to donate blood, something you know all about, Dust.
Yeah, I have had the great pleasure, Joe, thanks to the House of Wellness, something I've always wanted to do, but I did it just before the lockdown. And the important message is you can and we need desperately for you to donate blood and plasma right throughout this period.
Yeah, I recently gave blood during lockdown. It was smooth and easy and really quite a delightful experience, actually. It was nice to get out of the house. But it is a great thing to do because 1 in 3 of us will need blood or a blood product in our lifetime, but only 1 in 30 people typically donate. And thanks once again to coronavirus, that number is decreasing with hundreds of people a day cancelling their appointments.
Yeah, blood and plasma donations are needed now more than ever. It's a quick process. The snacks are pretty good, Joe, as you said. They make a great cup of tea, and you never know where your donation could end up.
So every week we need 33,000 donations to support the needs of Australians, and that ranges from road accidents and trauma through to childbirth, through to immunotherapy treatment across the country.
So essentially, Kath, what you're saying, it's a life-saving thing to do.
It is the ultimate life-saving gift.
So this is your second donation, right?
Yeah. And what criteria do you have to meet?
There are a number of criteria, but what we encourage people to do is to always check. We change our rules, we review often. So, for example, if you have a tattoo, you can now donate straight after your tattoo. So we encourage people to check eligibility.
We're going to take 500 ml in total and
Okay.
roughly 10 minutes.
Kath, are we donating enough blood at the moment to meet demand?
Certainly, we've got a couple of challenges at the moment. Demand for blood product is extremely high. The country is getting back to its elective surgeries. And then secondly, we're seeing people looking forward to catching up with families and friends following the pandemic, so they're cancelling. So the cross between cancellation and high demand means we've got a bit of a challenge. Initially, we see when the state goes into lockdown, people tend to cancel, but we're an essential reason to be out and about. So it's great when you can come in through the lockdowns to keep coming in.
Well
How
done.
do you feel?
Good, thank you. That was quick.
It is.
Not that I'm competitive, Manny, but is that some sort of record or not?
It will be your record.
My personal record, okay. It takes just a few minutes to give blood, but for the Australian Red Cross Lifeblood team, this is only the beginning of the process.
So when we have blood collections collected at the blood donor centres, they're delivered to one of our 4 processing centres around Australia. So processing centres in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane or Perth.
Once the donations arrive at a centre, they're placed into a centrifuge and spun at over 4,000 revs per minute. This separates the blood into 3 components: red cells, plasma and platelets.
Why we need to separate whole blood into 3 different products is based on patients' needs. Red cells for people who have low hemoglobin counts, platelets for people who need help clotting, and plasma is basically water and albumin and all sorts of life-giving proteins.
Just as each blood component has different uses, they also need to be stored at different temperatures to remain usable for as long as possible.
The red cells are held at 2 to 6 degrees, and it has an expiry of 42 days. While a platelet is not a cellular product, it likes to be kept at 20 to 24 degrees. It also only has a 7-day expiry. So we have to get that tested and out to the hospitals very quickly so they can actually use it. Frozen plasma, we freeze to minus 35 degrees centigrade, and that's to ensure that we can keep it for a lifetime of 1 year. From processing, then we go into testing. Australia has one of the safest blood supplies in all of the world, and that's because we test for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HTLV, HIV, and syphilis. We also do blood group screening, and that's so we can ensure that we have the most compatible donor for the patient in need.
Once samples have passed the testing phase, donations are ready to be sent wherever they're needed.
Hospitals can order blood from us using an online portal, email, phone and even fax. We process about 20,000 orders a month nationwide, so that's about an order every 2 minutes. There can be a sense of urgency at times. About 2,000 orders a month are classified as urgent or life-threatening, which means the patient needs it right now. So for these orders, we're able to pack them up and get them out the door within a matter of minutes.
One of the thousands of Australians whose life has been saved by blood transfusions is Victoria's Jacob Fry.
So it was back in 2009. At the time, I was doing a full-time piloting course, and I was only 2 weeks away from getting my licence. And on my way to work one day, I veered 30 centimetres over the centre white line of the road into the oncoming path of a truck. I was given a less than 5% chance of survival, and my liver surgeon said that I pretty much had only a minute left to live before my body was completely dry of blood.
In the first 9 hours that Jacob was in hospital, he went through 36 litres of blood.
So it's taken way over 100 donors to be able to save my life. I don't know the exact number of how many it would be, but the amount of blood products I received were well over 100. I'll never forget, well, I've got 5 days of no memory, but yeah, I'll never take for granted the generosity of people going to donate blood, because that's literally why I'm here.
As a result of the accident, Jacob has undergone over 30 surgeries. But knowing his life was saved by countless strangers, he chooses to treat every day as a gift.
I walk with a limp, walking hurts, but it doesn't stop me from living every day to the fullest.
I'm paragliding.
I'm able to skydive, I'm able to snowboard, wakeboard, do all the things I love, and amazingly 5 months ago, 11 years later, I was able to achieve my dream of being a pilot, which is incredible. And it's all thanks to Lifeblood.
Joe, we talk about parenting a lot on the House of Wellness. I think we both agree it's one of the most rewarding things we do, but it has to be the most challenging as well.
No arguments here, does. Dr. Micheline Duclef, who I interviewed a few months back about what ancient cultures can teach us, was a game changer for me because it made so much sense. In a nutshell, it was about less yelling and leaving kids to be more hands-on, you know, just leaving them to learn their own way rather than doing everything for them.
I think there's so much from the way ancient cultures raise their kids that we've forgotten and we need to relearn. I think it's something that makes a lot of sense to me. We talked about a village being the answer to raising a kid. That seems to have escaped us in recent times. And kids are incredibly resilient, but the extra layer of pressure that we didn't have growing up, Joe, social media. They're on it all the time. We'd leave school and go home to the safety of our families, but our kids bring school home with them, which is a massive challenge.
Yeah, on one hand, you want to shield your kids from the downside of social media, but obviously that's not realistic. So you have to arm yourself with tools to help them so they can learn to help themselves.
Yeah, there's a stack of support groups and hands-on help available, Joe, including an online program developed right here in Melbourne that's kicking some big goals in doing just that. Let's take a look.
When you went to the course, I felt like things you did to help me.
Libby Brackey had the ideal life until, without warning, her world fell apart.
I had a marriage breakdown and 3 young children. My eldest was 10, Will was 7, and Elise was 3 at the time. And a very sudden marriage breakdown to the point where, you know, not only myself as an adult was struggling to cope with the reality of it, I was noticing the kids were almost in a state of shock of what had just happened and why in particular, and really how to navigate their way through these new relationships because their father at the time had recoupled with another person and they didn't know this person, so it was complicated.
In my world at the time, I was, to be completely honest, overwhelmed. I didn't know what was going on. You know, my parents had just got divorced. I was switching between houses, between my mum's house, my dad's house. You know, I was all over the joint.
With no skills to deal with his emotions, school became a struggle.
I was worried probably more about Will, worried about all of them, but Will being the only boy and middle child at that time and 7, which I know was a really critical age in a boy's life, that they start to really, you know, hang out with their dad and connect with their dad, that he was no longer there. So that's why I wanted to bridge that gap.
So the Partners in Parenting program is an online program for parents who would like to get strategies to support their parenting of young people to reduce their child's risk of depression or anxiety problems.
Psychologist Marie Yap developed the Partners in Parenting program. Over the last 10 years, she's helped navigate over 600 kids and their parents through rough times.
We provide a personalised feedback report for parents, which highlights areas where they're doing really well and provides additional tips and strategies for how they could do better in other areas to further reduce their child's risk of developing depression and anxiety.
Marie has translated decades of research into user-friendly parenting guidelines, practical resources that parents can use straight away.
I've never been through a situation like this. I haven't had kids before, clearly. I was learning, so I felt it really helpful from parenting guidance and advice, really, about if you notice this, try this. If you want to have a conversation, try these conversation prompts. If you notice anxiety or if you notice times of sadness, you know, perhaps approach it this way. It was almost like a self-paced course that you could go through and understand and get tips and ideas from experts. For Will, it's been more of a learning together.
So how are you feeling about going away?
Nervous, absolutely nervous, but otherwise I'm feeling pretty okay.
There was a time Tanya Alford wondered if her son Luke would ever get through high school. He was badly bullied and stripped of all his confidence.
Is there an orientation? That was heartbreaking, because to see your child go from this really outgoing person to within such a short amount of time to not wanting to leave the house, not wanting to talk to people, suicidal thoughts, it was really confronting.
I was quite an extroverted kid, which then turned quite introverted after a really terrible time when I started high school, where I was low all the time. I had no motivation to get out of bed. I wanted to skip school. I didn't enjoy being comfortable with me, my own skin, to a point where I almost took my own life because of it. And I think if it wasn't for this, I don't know if I would even be here.
Some of the key things that parents could look for if they're concerned about whether their child might be developing mental health problems, will be significant changes in the child's behavior and their mood. Especially for teenagers, for example, they're going through puberty, and that does impact on their mood. So we're looking at changes that are kind of carrying on and going on for weeks continuously, and it's starting to show that impacts on the child's functioning. So, if they start to withdraw from friends, that they would usually love to hang out with, if they start to, not want to go to school, for example, or they're struggling to concentrate at school, some of those kind of what we call functioning difficulties are clear signs that something might be going wrong.
Desperate for some kind of direction, Tanya found Marie's program, which armed her with the techniques to best manage a difficult time.
It brought attention to some things, some mental health issues that were red flagged. So they were able to identify things that were going on with Luke, with his answers, that I wasn't able to identify, because for me, in my world, this is the world we live in. This was Luke. So I didn't see anything out of the ordinary for him, but it was out of the ordinary.
Having all these problems buried deep inside of me and not wanting to tell people and not wanting to bother people with just stuff that was going on, and just feeling really alone and isolated. And then my parents, knowing at least a bit where I was coming from, it really just took a burden off me.
What the Partners in Parenting program encourages parents to do, for example, is to hold back from jumping in and solve the problem for their child, but instead to encourage the child or to guide the child to work out the potential solutions to problems they're facing, so that it empowers the child to realize that actually I can work through this. My parents here to support me. I know that, if I make a mistake, they're there. They're going to encourage me and keep me going, but I'm the one who's going to solve this and work through this difficulty. So that's kind of the optimal way for young people to develop those skills, because they'll need them later in life.
I'm now comfortable being me. I can talk to people. I'm extroverted. I'm back to loving my own ways. I no longer feel really dug down.
The program definitely gave me the skills, ideas and advice around how to have the conversations, when, why even, and what outcomes or what behaviours to look for in particular that may present as a red flag or present as we're heading in the right direction.
I think that learning how to deal with problems entirely is a skill I'll never forget or rely on my entire life.
We're very happy to get behind Partners in Parenting. Marie's tapped into a really important service, and with it a community of families who can exchange information and experiences, and obviously that all helps. It's accessible online to parents of kids aged 12 to 17 with strategies you can use immediately, and it's free.
Hi, I'm Jade Kisnorbo and welcome to my world of beauty. From the latest trends in skincare and makeup to creating a look that's just right for you, I've got the tips and tricks to make you look and feel great from the inside out. Sarah, I think we are caring so much now about what's in our beauty products, making sure that the ingredients are natural, free from synthetic dyes, fragrance-free and free from resins. And I think that stems all the way through to hair removal.
We have come such a long way, which is so exciting, particularly with waxing. And gone are those days of being a hot mess at home, trying to not get wax all over the carpet. It's just such a better time to be alive.
It is. And God, I remember those days. Rather forget. And I think brands like Nair have taken that into consideration and come up with a brand new natural wax strip range.
Oh, what a game changer.
It is. So the Nair brand overall wants to make hair removal less of a chore and make each person that's using these strips feel good and an easy process. And they want us to do this in a way that is natural yet effective and long-lasting.
So Nair Soft Natural Wax Strips come in the mini, which is great for your eyebrows, and the large, which is great for your legs or your bikini area. And they're made from 99% naturally derived ingredients, which is something I really look for in my beauty products. One of which is chamomile, which is really good for soothing the skin, so it looks good and feels good too.
I love that. I think what stands out for me is the ease of use. So it's immediately ready. You don't have to place it in between your hands and warm it up. And I know I won't nick or cut myself. It's a win-win situation. Who are the wax strips ideal for? I would have to say first-time hair removal users. So it can be quite daunting, overwhelming. It just makes it really easy and you're able to do it very quickly. The mini strips are probably the ones that I would use personally. I like to even cut them in half if you want it really, really quite precise.
The wax strips work on hair as short as 2 millimetres, and because we're, removing the hair right from the root, it lasts up to 4 weeks.
4 weeks? That's amazing. I will be not shaving anymore. All about the wax strips, especially for us. We're too busy to worry about hair.
Joe, let's face it, I think most foods do taste better with a bit of salt or sugar.
Look, I would agree with you because I love both salt and sugar. But I've wondered whether it's the conditioning of our taste buds because it's kind of what we're raised. I'm not saying that sugar and salt aren't addictive, but I do think that there are substitutes that do the job. I just don't know what they are because I'm not particularly handy in the kitchen.
Well, better check in with the expert then. That's Luke Hines. He's always got some kind of sweet substitute for everything that contains sugar.
Well, let's check out what he comes up with this time as he goes head-to-head with award-winning pastry chef Anna Polyvu in a battle of the banana breads.
So there's this myth out there that healthy food is boring food, bland, tastes like rabbit food. That couldn't be further from the truth. So when you use real food ingredients, that's where the flavour actually comes from. We're talking about nutrient-dense ingredients that sing from the inside out. That's why I've challenged my good friend and dessert queen, Anna Polyvu, whose banana bread is the tastiest using only healthy ingredients.
I'm going to kick Luke's ass. Can I say that?
Anna, I feel like this cook-off is a long time coming. The last time we hung out, I cooked for you and you critiqued, but the tables have turned because we are both cooking and I get to taste yours.
So, look, normally my recipe has eggs, milk, brown sugar, caster sugar.
What have you done to make it different?
So different, I've used wholemeal flour, obviously high fibre. I've used coconut sugar, and I know that you're a fan of coconut sugar because I needed to find a low GI product.
What I do love is that you're using coconut sugar, but I'm going to show you an alternative. I often use things like coconut sugar, maple syrup, honey, but today I'm trying to make it responsibly sweet and really suitable for those who might be low-carb keto. So I'm actually going to sweeten it with monk fruit sweetener. Now, monk fruit is from the ancient hills in China. A lot of people are only starting to learn how to use it. Basically, no GI. You're talking about low GI. This is no GI. It's low-carb, keto, completely sugar-free and safe for diabetics. So it's a win-win.
That's delicious. Yeah. And I've never, ever actually come across it.
Round one, bring it on.
So here's my plain flour.
Yep.
Here's my baking powder.
Yep.
And then I'll just sieve that through.
Yep.
And this is wholemeal flour.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm sieving it separate is because we want the kernels off it. And I use that as a garnish for my banana bread.
Ah, okay.
So then just reserve it.
Okay.
I add in my pinch of salt. And then I'm going to sieve it again.
Okay. What? Again?
Yeah, twice. I told you.
You sieved it.
Yeah, I'm going to make it even finer.
Okay, while you sieve that, I'm going to get on to mine. So mine is really, really simple. A little bit more simple than yours. 2/3 of a cup of coconut flour. Now, the main difference between your recipe and mine today is that mine is 100% gluten-free. Now, for those who might be celiac or gluten intolerant, coconut flour, almond meal, and this second one, arrowroot or tapioca flour, are really good for those who might have that sensitivity. Once I've done my flours, I am not going to sift. I'm just going to go like that.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Look, I love your style, but I just, there we go. It's my version of sift. Put a little rumba with the bowl, and that is all you need to do. Round two, let's go.
What I've got here is bananas. More ripe they are, the better. There's a lot more flavour. I start off beating my banana, olive oil, coconut sugar, and my vanilla.
So while you put your bananas into your contraption, guess what I do?
I knew you were going to say this.
I get the whisk, And I just smash them up. If you don't have that, could you do this?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. What I love about bananas too is when you're using them as a sweetener in a recipe, you can actually slow the release of their natural sugars down even further by pairing them with a good quality, healthy form of fat. Now, you're using extra virgin olive oil.
Yep.
I'm going to use grass-fed butter, high in polyunsaturated fats. It's also a really fantastic source of vitamin K2, which is really good for bone health. But last but not least, we're all about looking after our gut. And grass-fed butter and ghee contain something called butyrate. And butyrate actually promotes and supports a healthy microbiome. So I'm winning with this banana bread.
So I'm just adding in olive oil, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to overmix this because it will become really stiff.
So you could over-sift it but not over-mix.
Absolutely.
Oh, you finished off your elements. I'm going to add some eggs. Just 3 of those bad boys. And then my sweetener. Now, I told you I'm using monk fruit sweetener, which is completely no GI. It's gluten-free, it's sugar-free, and low-carb keto. So it's a really good one.
I've just added in 2 parts my flour mix. So just mixing it through.
Oh, hello. I love how golden brown and caramelised yours already looks, and it's not even baked.
Well, it's because of the coconut sugar.
Anna, mine is done, and I got to say, yours look very impressive, but the big question is, who is going to be the banana bread winner? Well done.
Love this.
So good.
So this is the kind of competition I like, baked goods. Here we have them. This is Heinz's beautiful gluten-free
I'm going
banana
for this
bread.
one.
And these are the most adorable little individual banana breads from Anna Polyvu. What do you think?
That's outstanding. And that is the genius of Heinze, is that he can make something without sugar taste fantastic. So that is outstanding. You don't like bananas. What's your problem with bananas?
I'm not a banana fan. They look so delicious that I'm tempted to dig in, but I know just the banana flavour would just be not for me.
Bananas are great, Joe. Based on global consumption, they're the 3rd most popular fruit, but apparently not for you.
What is the most popular fruit?
Well, tomatoes, which, because they contain seeds, they're a fruit, Joe, which I know you knew. Number 2 are apples. And 3, as I said, are bananas. Number 4 on the list are oranges, and number 5, mangoes.
No berries. What about berries? Strawberries.
I love a raspberry, but
blackberries.
Maybe
blueberries. Gooseberries. What are gooseberries? What even is a goose? I don't know.
I've never.
My experience in colouring my hair at home, I've had lots of experience. I've been doing it since I was about 16. So what's that, 25 years of experience.
I've been every colour under the sun. I've been black, I've been brown, I've been blonde, and I have been orange at one point, not on purpose.
Our hair care's changed in the last 12 months because we're finding ourselves having to do things for ourselves at home. The wariness behind colouring your own hair at home is because we've all had that disaster as a teenager. We all went out, bought the little box dye from the chemist without mum knowing, and then ruined our hair for at least 4 years. Colouring your hair at home has changed a lot now, and we have amazing retail products at the supermarket and at the chemist, so we can be a little bit more adventurous when it comes to looking after our own hair. And we actually feel like we've got a bit of knowledge behind us by searching it out on the internet. It doesn't make you a professional, but it'll at least guide you through colouring your own hair at home.
So many benefits of dyeing your hair at home, I think. Main one for me would be price point and affordability.
I'm always changing my shades of red, so sometimes I can go deep, deep red, and sometimes I can do a little bit more of a lighter Nicole Kidman red. So I like the variety of just being able to change it up.
You really want to see your hair colour that you do at home have vibrancy and shine for at least 6 weeks. You really want to look for things that don't contain a lot of nasties, especially you want it to be dermatologically tested and, of course, 100% grey coverage. People are definitely far more astute at searching the back of their products. We want to make sure that they are vegan. We want to make sure that they're really clean and they're going to be good moving forward for the environment and for us. So you really don't want to see any sulfates, parabens or silicons, and no ammonia, because it's far less damaging to your hair.
You know, Revlon's been around for a very long time, and it's also the accessibility of their product.
I probably gained some resources from any hairdressers that I did know personally before I did dye my hair again, because I don't want to be orange again.
I think the best tips when doing your home colour is to put on some old clothing, have your rubber gloves at the ready, make sure if you've got a barrier cream or good old Vaseline works, pop it around your hairline so you don't look like the Lego man after you're finished, and take the time. My rule of thumb is always go 2 shades darker than your natural or only 2 shades lighter if you're going to use a box colour. So don't ignore your hair at home. Do what you can, because it's so good to feel good about yourself on any given day. And the simplest thing is your hair. So there we go, Brie, all done.
That looks beautiful. Thank you.
Well, Joe, I know you love changing your hair colour regularly, which looks fantastic, by the way, but your other big obsession we've found out is gut health.
Apparently so. Seems to be shaping up that way, and I'm not one to disappoint, so here I go with some gut statistics. Roughly 70% of our immune system is located in the gut. The digestive system even has a brain of its own, literally. It has an independent nervous system that can affect things like anxiety, depression, migraines, and lots of other stuff. And there's growing evidence to link all these things with having a sick gut. So in the quest for good gut health, I'm now handing it over to Master Herbalist Gerald Quigley. All yours, GQ.
Tell us about the gut microbiome and what it is.
Well, the gut microbiome is essentially the composition of our gut. So we've got lots of bacteria. Our gut health basically shows how we absorb nutrients, very important, how we respond to bad bacteria, and more importantly, the overall role that it plays in our health and well-being.
What can cause an unhealthy microbiome, and what are some of the signs you might see if your gut is out of balance?
Our food choices and lifestyle choices actually pave the way to our specific gut microbiome. Things that might upset that might be a large pasta meal, smoking, alcohol, antibiotics, even an extra treat or two. And we find symptoms that will show as digestive discomfort or gas or bloating.
Can relate.
Well, antibiotics can completely disrupt the gut microbiome. Now, they not only destroy pathogenic or bad bacteria, but they can upset the balance of good bacteria as well. And these changes can lead to tummy issues like nausea and vomiting and diarrhoea and digestive upsets. And more importantly, can lead to changes in our mood, our metabolism, and our immune function.
So how can a probiotic help support a healthy gut?
They restore the balance of good and bad bacteria to allow our gut to function optimally, to enhance absorption, and to get the most out of our food. The science has shown that specific strains play specific roles within our gut. Lactobacillus rhamnosus G has been studied to show that it lifts our immune response to both eczema and allergies. And then, Sarah, there's Bifidobacterium lactis HN019 that specifically works for bloating, constipation and diarrhoea. Every probiotic strain has a unique benefit, so combining the broadest range of strains gives us the most benefit.
So if you're looking to optimise microbiome, BioGlan has the highest probiotic strain count, and it's this diversity that means that more of the good bacteria will survive the journey through your stomach to your gut and can make a difference.
Welcome back to the House of Wellness Kitchen, also known as GQ&I's Health Haven. Now, mate, we are always talking about different nutrients. We love all the different vitamins and minerals out there, but one that stands out in particular is definitely magnesium.
Well, I'm not surprised, Heinzie, because you're a muscular sort of guy, and magnesium is the specific nutrient for muscles.
Well, mate, we have over 600 muscles in our bodies, so it's so important that we look after each and every one of them, which is why today I'm going to make my banana and coconut muffins, which are a fantastic pre- or post-workout option. And, mate, as the name suggests, they contain bananas, which are a fantastic source of magnesium.
And magnesium is really going to help you with your freedom of movement, whether your choice of exercise is a high-intensity workout class or a walk around the block. And magnesium also helps with muscle function and relaxation.
Now I know why you're always going on about it being so mighty, GQ.
And it doesn't stop there, Heinzie. Magnesium is also important for muscle contraction. And it also helps reduce cramps and their occurrence.
Oh, there is nothing worse than having cramps. I've got to say, I've actually started having them more recently. I'm not sure if it's because I'm getting older or I'm simply not getting enough magnesium.
No, I think it's probably old age, but still, did you know aches, pains, cramps are a sign you may be low in magnesium? And would you believe 75 to 80% of we Australians are in that situation?
Well, I tell you what, we and the rest of those Australians need to get to their supermarket, their local farmer's market, because magnesium can be found in such a wide range of ingredients, not just the bananas in these muffins.
And we can turn to a supplementation if we feel that our intake of magnesium is inadequate.
What I love is that there's so many options out there for everyone to get magnesium into their lives, which is going to keep us moving and active, and in turn looks after our physical and mental health as well.
And I'm going to be looking after my physical and mental health with one of your muffins. Give me a coffee, please.
You get you the coffee. I just made you muffins.
Yeah, but
you should be making me a coffee and another dessert.
But I need the coffee.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Bioceuticals Ultra Muscle Ease, an advanced magnesium formulation to support muscle function and muscle relaxation.
Well, Joe, it's September and it's a time of the year that always reminds me of you because it marks a campaign that's particularly close to your heart and one that you've supported for a long time, and that's Liptember.
That's right, Darcy. I am so passionate about being an ambassador for Liptember. It's a charity that raises funds for women's mental health in areas such as body positivity for young girls, postpartum support, crisis support training. It's so critical. And one of the great things that I love is it's all about wearing bright lipstick. Can you tell?
Very you.
Yes, it's very me. But the great thing is it gets people talking and raising awareness about all of the issues that women face as we go through all of our stages of life. You can get on board and sponsor someone who is wearing the red lipstick or any colour lipstick, really, bright pink, orange, blue, green, whatever is your bag.
Congratulations, Joe. I know it's something you're very passionate about. Any initiative that helps take the stigma out of emotional struggles, no matter what the gender, for me, is invaluable, Joe. It's a brilliant annual fundraiser and you've done some great work with them over a long period of time.
Well, I am really proud to be an ambassador for Liptember, and this year that baton has been passed to a truly extraordinary woman. Emma Gilshig has survived breast cancer and family violence and is a proud mum to a daughter with Down's syndrome. Her work helping traumatised, disabled children earned her an OAM, and I was lucky enough to sit down with Emma to hear her inspiring insights into how to make it through adversity. You have been very vocal around mental health and your experiences. What has brought you to Liptember?
I was in an extremely violent family relationship. And when we had got out with my young daughter, I needed to have a lot of psychology counselling with a specialised trauma psych. You don't see it happening. You don't see the changes happening. How do you go from being a strong, assertive, confident woman to standing in the supermarket, panicking because you can't work out whether to get pasta twirls or macaroni for dinner? I realised the importance of having services available for women.
And in the midst of all of this, you also was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yeah, it sort of didn't see it coming, as nobody ever does. But I guess, if anything, it gave me more impetus to just keep fighting, because Amelia is relying on me to survive. I needed to get laws changed. I needed to get policies changed. I needed to get recognition for children with a disability, so that if I died, if I didn't survive the cancer and I wasn't around to protect her, that the laws of the land would be able to protect her. And slowly but surely, everything normalised. So I'm in remission. I've got my health back. I tried to make sure that Amelia wasn't affected by what was going on. So I had to think creatively how I could help her. So I bought some joke wigs and I pretended that Mummy was doing dress up. And I think that that's one of the things that is good for me about the Liptember project is it is about fun. And I think as women, quite often, particularly as mums, we're in the bottom of the list. What does fun look like for me? And that was a really hard thing to actually come up with. It was really difficult because life had not been fun for so long.
And of course, Liptember is all about popping on a bright lip colour to get the conversation around women's mental health out there. What's your favourite lipstick colour?
Oh, look, I think they've got some amazing colours. I've got the red.
Yes.
But by wearing a bright lipstick, a little bit like when I was wearing the bright pink wigs when I had no hair, it draws people in for a conversation. I can say that the reason I'm wearing a bright lipstick is because I'm highlighting the importance of women's mental health.
I'm a big fan of the red myself. Brightens your day.
Absolutely.
Darcy is truly one of the most inspiring women to be going through family violence, being an advocate for her daughter, and then to have breast cancer at the same time. Honestly, I was so inspired by her. She's been through so much and just keeps smiling as well. She's so upbeat and happy. Because of her, it's now easier for disabled kids to be recognised as victims of crime, and she'll be giving her input at the Human Rights Commission on Children's Rights next year. Honestly, such an extraordinary person.
She is just incredible, Jo. It's been one of the great privileges of this show to tell stories like that need to be told. So register online, get yourself some sponsors and get behind what is a fantastic cause.
Yeah, and don't forget the lippy. What colour lippy would you choose, Darcy?
Oh, I've got to be blue, I think. Is blue lipstick work or not?
Yes, why not?
Well, I'm going to get...
Pick a colour that you love because you'll be wearing it every day for a month. We'll be back after this. So, Das, while you were busy on the Olympics, we talked about some countries that are actively reducing the temperatures of their cities by painting their buildings white. But not just any white. This paint is so white that it reflects up to 98% of sunlight. Isn't that awesome?
Oh, it's brilliant. Now, I've heard about this, Jo, and I've got an update for you. In Sydney's southwest, which is a major growth area, the New South Wales government are banning dark roofs on all new homes to dial back the heat.
And good on them, I say. The latest report from the IPCC on climate change referenced the need to consider planning and infrastructure in construction. So that's such a great way to start.
Sure is. Not only will getting rid of the black roofs drop temperatures, think of the money people will save at the same time in their cooling bills.
Yeah, it's so great. And I reckon we need to bring back a bit of grass and a tree in the backyard if you can as well.
Well, that was just the idyllic upbringing, wasn't it? Maybe that is a bit of a thing in the past. You know, the beautiful sort of three-quarter acre block with fruit trees in the backyard, Jo. That was how it was supposed to be. Was it the white picket fence?
No, that's not how I grew up.
Well, that's it for today. You can check out the House of Wellness website if you'd like more info on the show.
Join me and Gerald Quigley every Sunday for the House of Wellness radio show, and check out the House of Wellness latest podcast, Best of You. We cover everything from parenting to breaking bad habits. It's available wherever you get your podcasts.
And Jo, I've joined the podcast world as well with a new podcast of empowering leaders. I've had the great pleasure of talking to some iconic leaders in recent times. So Justin Langer, the Australian cricket coach, Sally Capp, our Lord Mayor, and many more, Jo. It's been a lot of fun.
That does sound awesome. I'm going to check that out. Plus, keep an eye out for this week's Lift Out, featuring all the action from the upcoming footy finals.
Some great interviews there too, Jo, with Max Gawn, Dane Zorko, both featuring heavily in the footy finals, Clint Gutherson from the Parramatta Eels as well. And as always, a big thanks to our great friends at Chemist Warehouse. And until next time, stay safe and keep well.